We are live! Yes! Here we go, guys. Here we go. This is it. Another episode of the Dean Wallace Show with unbelievable guests tonight. The Welshies. I like to call you a Welshie, Lesley.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I've been in 34 years.
What's happened to the ring? What's happened to the marriage, Welshy? Shaking the head in the back there. Okay, so guys, here we go. People are starting to join on to the live. It would be greatly appreciated if you can drop us a little comment, say hello to the guys as well, and hit that share button. Hit that share button, and let's get this story as wide and stretched out as far as we possibly can, because although a story coming on the back of such tragedy, it is so powerful as well, and these guys have got an unbelievable message to share, a story to tell, and a mission. You know, we've got a mission here where we want to raise funds and grow something special here in Dundee, where we can create a crisis centre for other people who are suffering from mental health issues, so that they can go and get respite and be able to turn their life around. So, yes, the comments are coming in. People are saying hello. Keep the comments coming, guys. Loads of waves, thumbs up. We have got Deb Brown, Margaret Pride's on. We have got Lesley Ann on, Karen Smith. So, guys, as you're jumping in, drop a wee comment in and I'll continue to give you a wee shout out. So, before I even get started, that was my wee chant for kicking off. I just want to thank Keith Arnott once again, who has done all my graphics, my logo, and supported the show. He's a sponsor of the show, and I will put his details in the comments. Actually, I'm going to do that tonight because I keep forgetting. But the guy is outstanding. So if you're looking for a logo, if you're looking for rebranding of your business, he's the man to go and see. So, moving on. Here we go. Right, guys, this is it. So, first of all, I just want to say a massive thank you for coming on and agreeing to come and tell your story tonight. I feel honoured that you have been open enough to come on and share it with us. And so thanks a lot. So how are you doing?
Yeah, fine.
Great, mate. Brilliant to be on your show.
Nervous, Les?
No, Kirsty's saying she's nervous.
How are you feeling, Kirsty?
Yeah, fine, but nervous.
That's cool. Here, once we get going, we'll be all right.
Yeah.
Once we get going. I get like that, yeah, even just before I hit live with you guys tonight, the butterflies were still going in my belly. So guys, how's things been? What have you been up to just recently?
Well, it's busy times, Dean. It's just constant. I mean, somebody's always want to talk to you about Lee and about the story and about the campaign and what's been happening subsequent to his death and all that kind of thing. So yeah, there's always somebody wanting to chat, and it's great. We're willing to do that because we want to keep it in vogue as much as possible, what we're trying to achieve for Dundee. The campaign is going well. Obviously, it's been knocked on the head this year because of COVID, but yeah, we're hoping to kick it back off again. Same charity that we'll aim to go for this year was Haven Hearing Voices. They're based on the Hull Town. So because it's been suspended this year, we're hoping to carry on and do our fundraising for them again next year when things hopefully improve.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely, mate. Yeah, it's been a tricky time across all aspects of everybody's life, but I think here, even if we can get the ball rolling with some respect over the next few months, so when things do kick off in 2021, we've already picked up a wee bit of momentum, and we've got the wheels in motion as such.
Yeah.
So guys, I'm just want to take this back, all right? I just want you. Obviously, we're here to tell Lee's story, but you guys' story from each of your perspective as well. But it'd be great just to grasp a wee insight into what Lee was like as a character growing up, and just fire away.
Absolutely. Well, I think the story started 30 years ago on the 13th of February 1990. He was Mr. Lee Philip Welsh came into this world, and even on that night, he caused a fuss because he was born with a condition called Steps talpies. It's basically a club foot. Now, we had no clue that this was going to happen, and all through Lesley's pregnancy, she was saying, "I've got a pain in my side, a pain in my side," and that's what it was. His foot was caught in a rib cage, so it twisted. So when he was born, he had this deformed foot. So of course, when we seen this, horrified, no warning this was going to happen. We've seen this foot. I'm thinking wheelchair for the rest of his life. All these negative thoughts are going through my mind. How am I going to fundraise to get this operation done? But it was no big deal. It was no big deal whatsoever. So that was the very first reaction when he was born. It was uncertainty for the very start, and it was interesting because he was growing up. Once we learned that what this was, this club foot, and he had to attend physiotherapy, and they made him a wee splint. You had to put the splint on. It was to correct the foot and hold it in a proper position. And as he was getting older, he hated putting this thing on. So in the early morning, he would get up and he would find this splint and he would go and hurry up into the kitchen and chuck it in the bin. And we'd say, "Oh, where's your leg?" And he'd go, no. And we can't exactly what I was going. Here's the leg laying in the bin. So that was something he didn't like. But the surgeons corrected that, and they made a hell of a good job of correcting his foot. And what age was he when he got operated on?
He was around 6 months, and it was back in the old DRI hospital, so I was able to stay in the same room with him. But like, obviously, I was hoping that everything was going to be normal from school. It turned out he had one of the top professors in Scotland that done the operation, and it turned out to be 99.9%, and he never ever had to get another operation, because usually when you go through the growing pains and whatnot, the tendons start to tighten up and they usually hate going in and operate again. But however, my main concern was, is it going to be off for going to school? As you know, kids could be cruel, and I was thinking he's going to get a hard time going to school with this plastic splint that had Velcro on it. And that was the reason he used to throw it in the bin.
One bonus was he had a thing on. It was called the Dennis Bounce splint, and it had a bar going across his two legs, holding them together. So everybody else, parents at that age, changing nappies was a bit awkward. Had this essential tool, it just lifted this bar up.
But no, they were able to get rid of the splint for him starting school. And apart from running, he had a wee flick with that leg when you ran. Apart from that, and it was slightly smaller in the shoe size.
Was that?
Apart from that, no, he never had any more problems.
But he was a happy lad. He had his moments. He wasn't the star pupil in Rockwell Primary. It was interesting because Rockwell shut down, so he got moved to St Peter and Paul's. Now, also non-denominational school, and St Peter and Paul's, was an RC Roman Catholic school. So anyway, he got put there, and you can yourself. They used to do things like dress down days. So Lee would say, "I'm not dressing down. I'm going to go in there." So he used to sport this Rangers start, but would say to him, "Lee, what have you come along as the day?" And he'd say, "Oh, my favourite Rangers player, Brian Laudrup." So of course, that didn't go doing too well in an RC school. So the teaching Scotland was brilliant, and that was a sort of legacy that went about with him after that.
Yeah, he actually won. The head teacher won. He had an orange bucket hat on. He said enough.
Brilliant. When the Rocky closed, he went to St Peter and Paul's. I went to St John's. I was at the Hiskill, same thing.
Okay. Yeah.
But I always remember him. Well, in my earliest memories, I've told you guys this before, is we him and young Stevie Martin, when I'm not sure if it was World Cup '98 or round about that time. They had the skinheads with the wee fringes coming over. Right. Total Balder with the wee fringe. I just remember the two of them running a bit mental, but excitable as anything, brilliant wee dudes. And here,
there's an actual picture.
There's a picture of her. Brilliant. That's what I remember. And just like even right through the years, I ken him, he was the same type of The same type of guy. Ken, he was like dead. Like he was great to be around. Ken, he was always full of beans. And I think like when I was in your house that day when we were speaking about it, I said, because you were on about how you always went on to help people laugh and kind of act the goat and stuff like that. And I just touched on that. I think that there's definitely something in that. And you'd said something to me as well, Welshy.
Absolutely. As you got older, I mean, when I started noticing the mood changes, because it was obvious that there was something not quite right, and we started attending doctor's appointments with him and stuff like that, and they would give him tablets, and he would tap them for a wee while, and then he'd feel okay, and the usual young ends, they think the tablets have worked, so they come off them and kind of thing, and then you maybe slip back in. But touching on what you spoke about there, as you got older, we used to call it the Robin Williams syndrome.
That's what I was to say that.
Feeling he felt crap inside, but he wanted other people to feel good. Didn't want other people to feel the way he felt, so he would try and entertain and be comedic and crack jokes and all this kind of thing. Life and soul of the party.
Yeah. He was always happy-go-lucky, wasn't he?
Absolutely. I mean, as he grew up as well, he was very talented in regard to musical instruments. He played the drums. He started on the trumpet. It didn't come to much, thank God. But then he picked up the guitar, and that's where he found his talent. He was absolutely brilliant on guitar. He was self-taught. He couldn't read music. He couldn't play chords. It was all done on tabs, and he just learnt himself basically.
But any instrument he could just pick up and start playing something, having never played it before as well.
Yep. Do you think playing the guitar or playing other musical instruments was his opportunity, or like being present in the zone, and it took everything else away from him?
Yeah. Especially when he signed up with the band, he ended up with the band with Barry and Andy and Brian. Modern Culture, and I think that was in his most favourite times of his life, was when he was knocking about with the band, because they were doing quite well. They won Battle of the Bands through Radio T, and they were played through in a radio show now, I can't mind the guy's name, but they were doing okay, and I think that really did occupy him. But then, just like everything else, the band sort of went the right way, as bands do, and then he started going downhill a wee bit.
I think he missed it.
Definitely, yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah. What age was this about, Welshy?
He started. Andy and the guys will correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he must have been in his 20s when he started playing. Must have been 23, 24, something like that, when he started playing with Modern Culture.
Nah, not all that.
He was younger
than that. Right, okay. See, I'm great with years.
Poppy was born, so he must have been 18, 19
right,
or
okay.
something.
Right, okay. And they started playing, and they were doing the pubs and all that kind of thing. And then they drifted away, and he was doing the odd soul thing, soul gig in some local pubs with another guy. I can't remember the guy's name, and he enjoyed that as well. But they never ever got back to the full band that they had. But he used to do a lot of songwriting, and he would sit and compose something. I mean, you've seen some of his videos that.
He was up on YouTube of him playing the guitar and just having like a sing along and whatever.
Yeah,
so
there's been many on Facebook that have been crackers. I also love these Snapchats or his videos he's marked when he's 1 minute he's speaking, pretending he's two different people and things like that. They were belters.
But I mean, and then I think we started going to appointments with him to see various like psychiatrists and stuff like that.
Because you guys knew, obviously, but he didn't want anybody else to care.
Absolutely.
He was quite open about it with us.
With us, yeah.
Yeah, with you guys, yeah.
Yeah, and I think a few of his friends knew as well that he would speak to, or they'd go to him for some advice on how he dealt with his like depression and anxiety as well. But yeah, normally with like things like mental health, it's hidden away and they don't speak about it. But Lee was really open about it, especially to us and like Mum, who went to his appointments with him as well.
It was ironic because we went to one. I remember one particular appointment I went to with him, and you can't how he liked to his hair and his clothes. His hair was very nicely done, and his clothes and stuff. And we went in, and we had went through this appointment, and the psychiatrist or the psychologist or whatever he was says to me, or says to Lee, says, you're not depressed, Lee, you're just a bit fed up. And I thought, well, if that's how they determine, because he was dressed and
he was looking smart and looking,
yeah, that's how they decided that he didn't have depression. And I thought that was awful. But again, they kept saying to us they didn't want to label him marked depression, which we knew he was, bipolar basically. And we used to say, well, we don't care. If you diagnose him with something, we'd rather that and get to the bottom of it and get the correct medication. And no, we don't want to label him. We don't want to label him.
Because it's not a label, it's a diagnosis.
Exactly. But that was their terms. Yeah.
But some of the medication they were thrown at him at that age, it was totally knocking him for six. He was in a room with the curtains closed, couldn't get out of bed because he was basically
sleeping.
He couldn't get his head off the pillow because they were that strong. And to me, that's no a cure or a help either.
Yep.
So
like numbing the brain down, isn't it? Just like
that's no life for a young lad.
I was just knocking him for six. So again, I'd be back on the phone making another appointment. Right, that's no working. It's just keeping him locked in his room 24/7, basically. And that went on for years, back and forward. But again, as Phil says, he would try stuff and he'd go, oh, I'm feeling brave, feeling great. And then it's like he thinks a miracle cure. Once he got to the feeling good, I'll no bother taking the tablets anymore. Which obviously he would end up on a downward spiral again.
Yep. Well, Kirsty, what's many years is it between you two?
5 years.
5 years. What was it like from your perspective as like a younger sister?
What in regards to his mental health?
Yeah.
It was quite hard to see, and like that, he'd always be happy and cheery around the house as well. But yeah, it was quite difficult at times because you want to obviously help them, and you do all you can to help them, but there's only so much that we could do. So yeah, it was quite difficult at times.
Yeah,
I think we noticed that we could see. I mean, we could tell what the way he come down the stairs in the morning, what kind of mood he was going to be in.
Yeah.
So you knew what you were going to experience, what you were going to expect when he come into the room, because one day he would be up there, as a kite, happy, hyper about something, because there was always something going on, and other days he would hardly speak to you. So you knew straight away that the mood just by the reaction on first thing in the morning. It was incredible to see that, and that got worse as the years went on, I think.
And sometimes he would become a bit verbal. He was some days he could be very abusive and say things to you, but then later on, maybe an hour, 2 hours later, he'd come through realising, I can't believe I've just said that to my mum. And he'd come through and he'd be greeting and apologetic. But I knew he wasn't well. And it was a part of his condition.
Yeah. And I'd go and speak to him and be like, you can't speak to mum and dad like that, and they're just trying to help you. And he knows, he would know. But I think just like that, if he was in a certain mood and just one thing tipped him over.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So as the journey went on, you were going back and forth with the doctors. Like, how did things start to develop?
Pretty much. I mean, do you mean like towards the end of his life, or
just going through it?
So things got quite bad. I mean, he ended up, he punched the door and he cut his hand, and that was another story. And we got to the doctor with him, and the doctor says to him, "If you ever feel like that again, buy a punch bag, Lee." They kind of things, and that used to really piss us off when you'd hear that coming from a medical professional, and you're thinking to yourself, my son needs help. He needs more than a 15-minute appointment with a GP. He needs to be referred and analysed and whatever, diagnosed or whatever it is. And that never ever happened. And that was really frustrating. And I think the last 6 months of his life, you could see it in his face that his eyes started to sink. He wasn't looking after himself as well. And he had his own flat. And I used to say to him, look, come back here. Here, TV us, stay with us. He wouldn't do it. Now, he was an adult. I couldn't have physically forced him to do these things. I can only sort of suggest. And Lesley would do the same, and Kirsty. But no, he was adamant. He was okay. Everything was fine.
But he definitely, I noticed the spiral. If he left us and moved into his flat, he was never the same.
He kind of locked himself off a wee bit. He liked playing on the computer, like Counter-Strike, stuff like that. And then that I think going from like that, his happy place being the band and stuff, his happy place was just sitting in his room playing the computer. And I'd say to him, come on, we'll go, I'll take you out in the car, we'll go out or whatever. And he'd be like, nah, I'm quite happy just sitting in my room playing my games and whatever.
A couple of times he phoned and said, is it okay if I come home? And I'm like, of course you could come home, your room's there. And then about a couple of hours later, he'd phone back and say, oh, I'm fine. But deep down, I think he really did want to come home. But obviously, he was with a partner and didn't want to upset maybe her, I don't know. But he definitely wasn't happy. And he wasn't in a happy place.
Yeah.
So, sorry, on you go, mate.
No, just agreeing with Lesley. That's pretty much it, I think. And I mean, even he worked for Bernardo's the last couple of years of his life, and he kind of enjoyed the job to start with, and then even that he was getting ratty with that, and he was getting ratty in the van, and trivial things were upsetting him. And this is when we've seen this spiral of anxiety. It wasn't so much the depression. It was the anxiety. Getting up in the morning, all these racing thoughts. He would say, Dad, it's just incredible. What are these things that are going through my mind? How do you control it? I said, well, I can't answer that question. So you need to speak to doctors and relax and try and do things that make you feel better. And he, as Kirsty said, he would sit in the room, and that sort of calmed him down when he was on the computer and that. But no, the last few months, he dipped right down.
And it got bad. I remember one day on Facebook, he'd put up a status saying, I just feel like driving into the next car on the motorway or something like that. And I think people just took it as a flippant comment, but I think obviously there's a lot deeper meaning to it.
I mean, even the company, Bernardo's, they had counsellors that staff could phone if they felt they needed to chat with somebody. And he phoned this helpline, and he was on the phone to this person for an hour. And she was seriously concerned that he was at high risk of suicide. And with his permission, she phoned her GP, well, Lee's GP as well. And again, still the alarm bells didn't ring. That was a specialised, experienced counsellor phoning up the GP and saying, I've got real concerns about this lad. And yet again, it was a case of, we'll see what tablets we can give you, Lee, and we'll see you next week. And that was near getting to the end.
And we don't even think he mentioned to Lee that this counsellor had contacted him either to say.
No. We only found that out subsequently after he died, because we got his notes. Once we got his notes, we seen all this, and obviously the counsellor was bound to sort of GDPR, and she couldn't disclose things and all this kind of thing. So we couldn't get the person's name and all that, but it was in the notes that a counsellor had phoned Coalside Medical Practice and showed their concerns with the GP or whoever took the phone call.
Yep. So things are like towards the point of when Lee died, things are starting to get intensified. With the doctor, you guys are trying to get him a referral to Car's View. You're trying to get him somebody committed to. Tell us. I'm struggling to even.
The doctor didn't think that Lee had a suicidal ideation. They didn't deem him as having a plan of committing suicide, even though he was openly telling them, this is what I've been thinking of doing, and these are the thoughts that's going through my head. But because Lee got signed off of work, what was it, like a 2-week sick line? Yeah. That apparently determines that he's not at a high risk of suicide. He's not got a plan.
Because you're forward thinking.
Yeah.
You're forward thinking even for a 2-week line. It's not him that asked for the 2-week line. The doctor gave him the 2-week line, but in their mind, that suggests that if you accept that, you're not looking to end your life imminently, you're looking to the future. And it's bizarre. I mean, the things we've discovered, how they treat and look at suicide, and how somebody is determined to be at risk of suicide, is, in my mind, very, very bizarre, very strange. It's some of these things, you've got to read it to believe it.
Like a plan in place, sort of like, this is the protocol we follow. It seems different on. So we've seen different people, different occasions. Like, it's not like if somebody presents like this is the path that we'll go down to get them treatment. And it's just based on that person alone.
Yeah.
I mean,
should there not just be something in place though? If someone's sitting there telling their doctor that this is how I feel, that they hand them over to the next best person to see them and to speak to them at that specific time. Surely
it should be, Dean, because that was his third attempt. Now the doctor was well aware of that. Full got him the first time. The second time, the wire snapped. And obviously the third time...
Sorry, Lesley, to put you through it, but just wind back, explain that to us. Well, first time what happened?
He had his coat over a tree, and we got a phone call from a girlfriend saying she thought he was going to do something stupid. So Phil managed to get...
And the doctor's can't about that?
You knew about that, and then he had used a wire the second time, and it snapped, which the doctor was well aware of that. So, of course, when he done what he done, punching the door, on the Friday, I mean, he took his life on the Tuesday. The Friday previous is when he punched the door, and he was in a right state, and that was the breaking point for me. I thought, right, enough's enough. He's meaning business here. So that's when I phoned the doctor. Basically, I was bubbling down the phone, begging for him to lift the phone and get him assessed, because I was fearful that it was a weekend, and I thought, he's going, I'll see him Monday, and I'm thinking, what if something happens over the weekend? I'm going to be up to 99, but it was Carsfield, see him at 6:15 at night, blah blah blah. It's a Friday night, and blah blah blah. Just send his dad. We'll just give him Valium. And basically I was like, well, be on your head if anything happens over the weekend. But he says, I'll see him the Monday, which again we did. We went, thankfully made it through the weekend, went back on the Monday, and that's when he asked to see Lesley Kirsty had put a dressing on it because it was a mess. And that's when he come away with you, the next time you do that, here's a punch bag. And I was like, I says, excuse me? And he was like, I couldn't believe what I was hearing. And I says, you're not attacked this serious. And of course, he started speaking into a dictaphone. Wherever that message was going to lead to, I don't know. But any other doctor would lift the phone to the crisis centre there and then. So he was obviously looking to refer him probably back to Wedderburn House or someplace like that.
Which was beyond that by then. It was he needed serious psychiatric help.
Yeah.
And it wasn't there, it wasn't available. So that was the Monday he went to the GP. Went to him that night, and he hung himself early as the Tuesday morning. And that was it. And then the nightmare started, and that was just horrendous. I'll never ever forget that day, and anyone will. It was just awful.
But even going back to the Friday, like none of us had ever seen him in such a state before. Like his arm was all torn to shreds. He was pacing back and forward. He couldn't sit down.
He was a compass menace.
He didn't know what was going on. So it was a shock to even see him like that. And you knew by that point he was needing assessed rapidly.
Definitely. And it was a case of going up and getting some Valium and game one.
And you even tried to talk to the doctor at the time, and it was kind of like, well, it's
Friday night. He was standing at the door of the practice when I got there, and he just handed me the prescription. I was ready for a wee yap just to see what he wasn't interested. He gave me the script, and I'll see you Monday. Bye. So that was it. Went to Boots, the chemist, got the Valium. I kept them in the house, gave him a couple on the Friday. He come on the Saturday, I gave him a couple then. And he says to me on the Sunday, Dad, I didn't want any. I'm fine. And then the Monday they went to the GP, and Tuesday
I can't buy his face when we'll come out on the Monday because basically he got told to double up the medication he was on. And I thought, Christ, is that the best you could do? And he went, well, we'll see how he gets on. And again, he got handed a 2-week line because he was a driver. We had to make sure that he was compass mentis to drive with the drugs he was getting. Yeah. And he came back here for a wee while. And we were trying to get him to and no, he wasn't here anyway. And that the Perth Road was getting redone at that time, and the last I seen, I dropped him at the Blackness Library, and that was it.
Yep. And
gave us a kiss and cuddle and says he was going to the shops and going to a place game.
So that was horrendous. And then I was at work the next day, and Lesley got the phone call, Kirsty got the phone call, and then I got the phone call, and so there you go. So it began. And even on that particular day, Dean, I mean, the young cops that came up to the close to see, obviously the cops have to be there in case it's something suspicious. And we got asked to go down to Bell Street. And obviously your son's just committed suicide, your brother's just committed suicide. And we all got left sitting in the main reception in Bell Street. Now you can imagine the state we were in. Yeah. People coming to pay parking fines, asking about and we're sitting there. And the young cops that were dealing with, they were at their depth. They just did the kind of react.
I think it was the first time.
And give them their due. They were trying their best. But subsequently, after all this, weeks later, I put in a complaint, but I raised the awareness of that. And we got a good response from Tayside Police. They came up, one of the sergeants came up and said, that's just horrendous what you've told me. You should at least got a wee family room or somewhere or private or even come back here. But you just, you're in a state of shock like that. You just take the pulse's advice and go with it. You didn't think any of it. You didn't challenge it. You just accept that that's what should be done. So we went straight down to Bell Street, and well, you can imagine what thoughts were going through our mind. So that was awful. And then that was it. And we started obviously arrangements for funeral and that. And we got waltzes at the top of the hall. Couldn't be any better. They were amazing, absolutely amazing.
And Carly, our cousin, she started a crowdfunding page.
Thing, and that was brilliant. That was
obviously
people were amazing.
You didn't have life insurance because you didn't expect your son to go at that age, so there was nothing in place to get a burial or anything. So we're kind of like, Chris, what we're going to do?
But but that was amazing, and the people support was amazing.
It was
we couldn't move in this house for others. So it was good to be aware that people were thinking and the amount of cards and everything we got. But the big shock was when we got in the car to go to the funeral, and the car came down Byron Street, and we seen waltzes in view, and the amount of people that were standing outside that service room was unbelievable. We couldn't believe it.
Rammed right up the street.
It was incredible. So that gave
just shows you how much he was loved, though.
It's tragic as well, because obviously when somebody's going through something like that, they're inside their own head that much. It's got to leave you the fact that how many people actually do love and care for you.
I know.
And that's the ironic thing. This emphasis on young guys, young people to speak up, speak out. But they do. But there's nothing for them if you speak up and help.
So everything that we've just went through there, and obviously how powerful and emotional that part is. That's the key to what we're what you guys are trying to achieve with this crisis centre, because every bit of information that I've just listened to there, and kind of going back and forward to doctors and the signs and everything, that's what really needs to be like brought to light. And I think there's loads of comments coming in, by the way, and I think that's what we really need to drive home and let people understand that, like, that's why we're going to need this crisis centre. That's why we do need it here. 100%. I'm going to do everything I can with you guys to try and achieve this, without a doubt.
Oh, thanks, Steve.
Brilliant. Totally appreciate it. It's incredible how often you see people. I mean, they say that the actual pinnacle of suicide could be over within 15 minutes. So if you could get that bit of help, just even on that phone call, or somebody say to you, come here for that space of time, to get over that period of crisis, is just maybe enough to bring you back down to earth again and say, right, okay, I didn't want to do this, I really didn't want to do this. But because there's nothing with the normal 9 to 5, except for Carsview, which Carsview's picking up a massive geographical area now, because they've shut the Mulberry unit, they've shut a ward, the acute crisis ward up in Murray Royal. So you think of that, Perth, Arbroath, Montrose, Dundee,
there's only so much.
There's only Carsview.
But at the end of the day, they need a referral for a GP.
To get there,
To get there. So it's not like they could go and knock on the door and get in, where the crisis centre, that Edinburgh's got, is a 24-hour, 24/7. They could phone and get a time to go there and be seen.
You don't need a referral.
No referral.
You're going straight there. So you're going straight there. You're bypassing the doctor, everything.
Exactly. And that's
out the door.
And these people are aware. I mean, they're obviously trained. It's run by Penumbra, which is a great charity, and it's backed up by NHS Lothian and Edinburgh City Council. And these people are professionals, obviously, and they know if that person they're talking to is at that stage where they need to come in, they need to escape from whatever it is, just to get away from whatever it is that's tipping them at that point. And they come into this great resource, and that's what we desperately need in Dundee, because we're luckily to the highest suicide rate in mainland Scotland. It's just horrendous.
And not only that, teen pregnancy, drug use, poverty, all three things again, which lead to mental health problems. So if we're the highest for all four of those things, I don't see why we don't have a place, a non-referral place, where people could just go like a safe haven and just get away from whatever's bothering them at that time.
For the population that Dundee's got as well, and it's like I think I spoke to you guys about that the day I was in seniors also, that Dundee didn't even have rehab, and for people who are trying to transform their life and get back and conquer addiction. And we actually need a lot of shit here.
Absolutely, definitely. I mean, it's all great. I mean, we love the waterfront and all what they're doing down there, but they need to get the fundamentals right first before they look at the bigger picture, and that's the frustrating thing for me.
Yep. So, guys, jumping back, you were saying there, obviously, you ended up at Bell Street and things like that, but again, things went a wee bit mad for yourself as well, Welshy.
Yeah,
on the back of, obviously, Lee passing.
Yeah, I mean, obviously started visiting the GP, had to get lines for work, and so I was prescribed Valium, and I was pretty much tarting them willy-nilly, just to mask the pain, basically. So I was feeling a bit shit. I would go into the bottle, pack it, whatever.
You're trying to be strong for us as
Absolutely.
well.
I was just trying to go through as much stuff as possible, I possibly could, protect them, and they are, get the word out there and all that kind of thing. And it got to the stage where I came addicted to Valium, as they are addictive. I mean, they were prescribed. They weren't dodgy things. They were through the GP. But he decided that this wasn't right, and I should come off these. And I thought, right, that's fine. I've not got any problem with that. I didn't think for 1 second there'd be any reaction. So about 3-4 days in, started feeling crap, shaking, real bad thoughts in my head, and sort of crisis point. I took a massive panic attack. Never had a panic attack in my entire life. Kirsty and Lesley witnessed it. Phoned the 999, got an ambulance. The lassie took an hour to get us out of the thing. She said she's never seen a panic attack like it in her life. I've never experienced anything like that in my life. It was horrible. Wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. They suggested that I go up to Carsview. So, went to my GP, went to the GP. The GP picked up the phone, same time, same sort of time on a Friday night, and got me a referral to Carsview within an hour. So you think
this is the thing when I was in speaking to you that day as well, Tim, when you're obviously I knew that, but when hearing you saying it, and I was just trying to get my head around it as well. It's just like, how are these two decisions? Like, why is that? How did that happen?
Absolutely. There's no rhyme, no reason for it that I can ever fathom. But I was seeing that they couldn't be any better with me. They sent me home that night with meds and made sure that Kirsty and Lesley was with me. The next day, I went. They made us an appointment to go back up. They put us on a high dose of Valium and various other things. And then the crisis team came out and visited me at home for
every
I think
day.
it was 14 days.
Yeah, every day.
Because your panic attacks at one point were so bad. Me and Mum had to calm him down for nearly 4 hours one night, just because you just were so bad.
When we come back for curfew, so they gave us instructions on how to deal with it. So it was more than 4 hours, Kirsty. Me and you, it was practically near the whole night, taking it in turns, or then breathing exercises and then he'd fast sleep for another wee while, and we'd only been given a certain amount of tablets that got him through this night. We were down to our last tablet and thought, Christ, if this is not going to happen, we're going to get an ambulance again. But luckily, the last tablet kind of floored them.
Knocked us out, and they were like a bit like, yes.
We were exhausted.
But no, it's just to put it back on and focus with Lee's story though. It just shows you. I mean, the same practice, not the same doctor, the same practice. One doctor can refer,
In the next
and
room.
the next guy says no, there's no referral. Not even an attempt at a referral. Yeah, he picked up the phone. I got in.
So you wonder to yourself, are they not taking the young guys seriously? And is it that they're looking for attention? Is it because Phil is the age that he is, where he works, and
the kind of job he's got, a granddad, things, taking all that into consideration rather than...
Because I've heard a few people that's went through the same scenario and their son's been turned away. But you're like that. How are they not taking the young people seriously?
Mm-hmm.
How are they not getting this assessment? I mean, how could they tell? How could a doctor say, as he did with me, that he'll not be seen and he'll not get this? But
how much work on a Friday at tea time? How much work is actually goes into that referral? It's going to maybe. I'm not saying this did happen, but then if it's 5:30 on a Friday and I've got to go and write a report or get a referral, and then I've got something on that Friday night and shit like that. And all these things have got to, because people are human and on. It's like, have they made that decision just so they can get up the road, or you just never can? You probably never will can.
I don't think GPs are trained enough to be in defence of GPs. I mean, they're doing their job. They've got here knowledge of a million and one things with people coming into that surgery. But for mental health, I just don't think they've got enough experience. You get 15 minutes in there, and it's a case of there's some antidepressants. We'll see you in a couple of weeks, see how you are. And I think there's too much of that. There's too much of that, just a prescription at young people and saying, we'll see you in a week. There has to be more.
I'm a great believer in what's going on in your personal life. Are you training? Why are you surrounding yourself? Are you working? What's your 10 goals that you've got? This before just going bang.
Absolutely.
And obviously, Lee's was a slightly different condition because, like, bipolar is most of the time you're going to need the medication for it, but just people had no general anxiety, but like anxiety in life and depression and things like that. Sometimes when you find a bit of purpose, and a bit get the bit between the teeth, or something that you enjoy, or something that you're striving to achieve, things could start to change for you. You could start training, eating well. There's loads of different aspects. I've had to go through myself. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, he did for a wee while. He was going to Navarro's gym for a wee while. I don't know how he
was running and that. He was running with me
occasionally. He was going to run.
But I think he was getting to. It was beyond that, Dean. He was.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's different. This is a different circumstance.
Yeah. He was. If that had all been put in place when he was first showing symptoms of depression and anxiety, a care package, if you like, of various different theories and treatments and what they can maybe try on him, but that never happened. So it just got to the stage where it got worse and worse and worse, and it got beyond the stage of mental health, fitness, and eating well and all that well-being. That it was psychiatric and medical help that he needed at that point, and it just wasn't there. It wasn't there at all. So I think they need to catch the kids earlier, when they're going to the doctor and they're saying, I'm starting to feel a wee bit, I can they're stretched and they're under-resourced and all that kind of thing, but there has to be something there because they can't just keep going, throwing prescriptions at them and hoping for the best, basically.
Because, I mean, probably 90% of the time over the years, people have always went to the doctors with like something physical, but over the last, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years, it's very much just going with the mental side of things, Ken. And I totally agree with you, Ken. Doctors aren't trained enough on the whole mental health aspect of it, but that's what makes it even more important, how they've got to be able to go and pass them over.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
and I mean, I think that's the focus, the reason why we got behind this campaign. When we found out about the crisis centre and we went and visited it, we thought, wow, if only this had been there and a number was available to him, it might have been a lifeline. I'm not saying for 1 minute if it was established, it would have been cared. I'm not saying that, but if we seen that resource, and I think if we could get something like that here, I'll guarantee you, I can assure you that lives will be saved through that.
There's a number of Lee's pals, unbeknown to us even, that we thought were fine laddies, but since Lee's passing have now come forward to us and expressed that they've been feeling the same, had the same thoughts and stuff that we weren't aware of.
And there's one friend in particular as well that was mailing Lee the night he did take his life, asking him about deals with anxiety and stuff, and I remember him putting a Facebook status saying he was being really helpful, giving him like advice on how to deal with it and that. So even in Lee's struggling moments, he was still trying to help his pals.
Amazing, that's amazing. So guys, obviously it's been 3 years now. How have you been able to pull through as a family?
It's hard.
Yeah.
Mandy McLaren, her son, took his own life before Lee, and I remember when Lee committed, she says to me, Phil, you'll never ever get over this, you'll just learn to live with it. And I thought, I'll get to the stage one. But she's absolutely true. It's absolutely right. You never go over it, you just learn to live with it. And it's a different kind of grief than your mum or your dad, or you can't express it, you can't really, there's an emptiness there that will never be filled. Mm-hmm. So you just hate to learn to live with it. That's all you can do. And again, he would want us to get on and heal life and be happy. And there's no way he would want us sitting on the couch, locked in ourselves and not doing anything and grieving basically every day and slumping into a depression. So we try our best to carry on as normal. We've got obviously the granddaughter and that kind of thing. But yeah, so we pull together as best we can.
I didn't get us wrong.
You have your days.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
I've been through a bad patch myself through it, and Phil had to get the police because I was on the other side of the way underneath the railway bridge because I didn't want to be here anymore. Couldn't cope, and I thought I wasn't going to get back up. I was sliding on the moss and whatnot. The ahn was flashing through my head saying, I'm going to put my son, my daughter and my granddaughter and my man through what we've just been through with Lee. And it was just sheer luck. I didn't care how we'd done it and managed to get up. But that's how easy, because I could see that they got into that zone. And
just a split second.
That's exactly what it is. This is what I don't understand. They didn't need a plan. That could be done in a split second.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's, I mean,
in that instant, Lesley, you realised.
I can't. I was like, what am I doing? It's just like I come to my senses, and I was like, I know I can't do this. I need to be here for Kirsty and Phil and Poppy, and I didn't care. I just kept, as I say, the other side of that butt weekend. It's like just wee bricks, and it was I was covered in slime. When I got the police and whatnot, they were like, "Can you go to your doctor's this morning and whatnot?" But I mean, I could have ended up in Carsview that night.
Yeah.
But I mean, we as a family have been through them all. My brother took his life at 24, and I found him at 11. My dad was murdered 13 years ago, and now Lee. So as a family, I wonder how we've coped through everything that we've been through.
Superheroes, man. Total superheroes.
But I mean, don't get us wrong, Dean. Every day's doom and gloom. We hear laugh about them. We remember the stupid things.
No, you said that. That's one of the first things you said to me, mate.
We'll hear the laugh.
Like to just the
stories or things you got up to and
stuff that would do.
The craziness that you would get up to, and
go back and look at some of his daft videos that's on his page. And I'm coming in. Kirsty will ken about that because she was his protector. Coming in, and I'd get morning thinking, I bought a litre bottle of vodka yesterday. What's that vodka with? Ken and Kirsty like that. 10 years later, Ken, you used to come in and go clink and clank, and of course
back in the taxi to whatever party.
Run in, grab the guitar and a house party. But
brilliant.
And just acting the fool all the time in the house, I miss that.
I think that's what shocked people the most, because he was so like the prankster, basically, always up to something, joking, laughing. That I think that's what shocked people the most when he obviously did take his life.
I think it had a big impact on his pals, some of his pals as well. I'm not going to name any names, but some of them really struggled after he done what he done, and you could see that how much of an impact it had on them and how much they meant to him. But so that's how we think, if we can just stop one other family from suffering that's definitely got to be a bonus of some sort. So we'll keep on campaigning. That's what we'll do. And guys like you are helping us with that. It's you and the media and things like that helps us do this, because if we can't get the message out there, we'll never be heard.
And the papers have been great with you.
I think they realise that we're not going away anytime soon. We're not going to be swept under the carpet. We're going to keep going and going and going till they're just going to be pussy sequel until they get the centre. It's not like there's not enough buildings out there that could be used, and there is a lot of good buildings that are sitting empty, going to waste, that could be used for some good use for a crisis centre.
100%. 2 seconds, guys. So I'm just going to. There's loads of comments coming in. Just going to speak to the people who are viewing right now. Anybody who's got anything to comment, drop these guys a wee message. Fire it into the comments because these guys are going to be able to see them afterwards. And I'm sure if any of you want to drop them a private message and connect with them, and if you can help in any way which possible, then it would be grateful as well. Because that's what we're about to move on to, because the mission is now. So what's next, guys? What do we do now?
So obviously, everything's suspended this year because of COVID. So Haven was our chosen charity this year. So we've suspended it this year. So any funds that we've raised up to now, we've got put aside. We'll carry that across to next year, and then we'll kick off again. Same thing, the soup and pudding event, the football, the charity match, possibly the abseil that Lesley done last year, all that kind of stuff, and just to see how much we can raise for them, because they deserve it. They're a wee local charity. Again, they need funds. They're relying on sort of charitable donations and all this kind of thing. So if we can help them exist for a wee while, then absolutely.
Plus, if we get a crisis centre, obviously we would continue doing as much fundraising as possible, and then pass the funds over, because they're going to obviously need some kind of funding as well, just the same as the Edinburgh one gets.
Yep.
So that's what mission.
So what do you think still needs to be done to achieve the goal of getting the crisis centre?
Well, funding for a start. Somebody needs to come up with a plan, and it'll be done at Dundee City Council, the Tayside Partnership on Health, or whatever it's called. They need to get together. Whatever the funding comes for, I do not know. Probably central government, and they need to establish a third sector charity, assume to run it, similar to Edinburgh, backed up by the council, backed up by the NHS, and I think that's the way forward. Obviously, all that kind of thing is out of my control, Dean. It's just something that we keep asking for. But there's just people out there that have got that knowledge and clout, and that's how I keep.
Clout, definitely.
Apologies to some of the council who hustle them all the time, but I keep saying they've got they can influence. They maybe don't have the power to directly say yes, we'll go for this, but they can definitely influence. So as long as I'm breathing, I'll keep nipping their head.
I mean, when they've done that investigation, the David Strong, the crisis centre was brought up. He is definitely looking for a crisis centre going forward. So apparently they had their eyes on two buildings, but they've no said whereabout or what. So kind of he's going to be coming back in how many years?
No, I think it's the next year.
Is it next year? Yeah. And so hopefully something will come.
I'll stick my neck out, Dean, and be very brave here. I think it's going to happen. I'm not saying it's going to happen next week or next year, but I think it will. Yeah.
But I think, like, if we could just give a call out or a shout out or to anybody who was watching this, and everybody's got connections, everybody's got some sort of, as you say, clout as well. And if we can come together on this in some sort of way to definitely speed it up.
Yeah.
And whether it's going to take 1 year, 2 years, can we speed that up? So I kind of mentioned this to you earlier on as well, and you're going to be raising money for Haven. I'm going to do something myself. I'm going to do a sponsorship myself. Maybe do something where other people could come and join in as well. And probably we'll try and set ourselves a wee target with a certain amount of money, and we'll get after it. And if that, whatever that does, contributes towards Haven or whatever you guys want to get, that's entirely up to yourself. But I just want to say, like, I love you guys, and I totally appreciate you coming on. I think you fair as just a wee dude growing up at the top of the hole in Butterburn.
We know.
Even Lee, obviously you played football yourself. He absolutely loved doing on that square on the grass, and you and I playing football with him. Thought it was great.
Alan's actually on. He's listening. He's watching. But Alan,
hi, Alan.
Only joking, Alan. But guys, totally appreciate you coming on. Is there anything else that you want to add before we go?
Just if anybody's feeling crap, do speak up. Do tell somebody, and bottle it up to yourself. Go and have a player with anybody. Anybody will listen. We'll listen. It doesn't need to be somebody that if you feel like you can't talk to somebody, your immediate family, speak to somebody else.
There's lots of resources also on Not in Vain for Lee.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. notinvainforlee.co.uk.
Yeah, there's a lot of
resources right here, right now. Tell me what that www. notinvainforlee.co.uk.
Yep.
Bang that in the comments right now.
If anybody's feeling crap, as I say, there's a lot of
resources
and numbers that they could phone and speak to somebody if they need to. And you'll probably see on the site people have left comments or
their own
experiences that they've dealt with, and people are welcome to leave any messages anonymously if they like.
Yeah.
Understanding. Well, guys, I'm sure that there's going to be many people who have been watching tonight who are going to be inspired, are going to be watching, and also kind that there is the opportunity to go and speak to people. And I'm sure that your inbox is probably going to get a few messages as well, because you've been amazing, strong as anything. And I just want to thank you again for coming on.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely.
Superb. Guys, people who are watching, if you can share this video as wide and as far as possible, just takes 2 seconds, hit that button, share right now, get these guys' story out there, and let's see if we hit as many people as possible and come together and make sure that we can collectively help these guys. These have set the mission, but if we can come together and collectively achieve a crisis centre right here in Dundee, it'd be amazing for the city and it will definitely save lives. So Thanks so much for tuning in. It's been a cracker. Peace out, and I'll catch you soon.